You're listening to Footy Roundup, episode 2 of our triumphant return. Rob Serjanik here,
Number 23 overall.
Joined as always by Matt Tidcombe. In the first half of today's show, Matty and I are going to be discussing the major 4 European leagues. In the second half, we're going to be going through the upcoming Champions League fixtures as well as Europa League and our now infamous or famous Studs and Duds segment, I guess you could say. Matt, off the hop, you have some quick MLS news to run through.
Yeah, I guess the big news out of MLS as well, especially here in Toronto, is that Gilberto is on the move. He's gone to Vasco da Gama of Brazil on loan. So, obviously, I think we discussed it just before we went on the air that this is basic. The fact he's gone on loan basically signifies to both of us that obviously in the end, TFC maybe next year when MLS expands to 4 DPs, they can hopefully bring him back. So.
Yeah, I think it at least leaves the door open. Maybe if they're not even fully sold on do they want him back, Matt, it buys them some time to kind of see, what the situation and landscape will look like by next year, if indeed they do add that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee they will, right?
Yeah.
So if they don't change, if MLS doesn't change the policy, then they got another decision to make. And Vasco da Gama do have the option to buy him at the end of the loan spell.
I think it's almost like a push situation to kind of just buy everyone time. Maybe see how Gilberto's feeling too if he goes.
It's curious though that they lent him back to Brazil and didn't see if an MLS team wanted to pick him up. So the fact they've sent him somewhere that isn't like in the league where he can continue to play every week kind of shows to me that they do want to keep him around.
I'd hope to see him back.
I do
like
too.
We discussed last week, I think I'd be more comfortable with their striking, attacking options if and when he does return. I think it just gives him a little bit more depth and a little bit more options.
Yeah.
And I think he's a good player. He grew through the season. He
Second
started
half is really
slow
good
and then he really picked things up. What else has been going on in MLS, Matty?
Not too much, to be honest. Teams are in training camp, down in Florida and wherever else they do these things out west, and anywhere where their sun is basically where these teams go these days, right? Yeah, definitely not Toronto. But the Whitecaps beat the Victoria Vikes, that's the university soccer team, 6-0. Pedro Morales scored for what that's worth, and the Montreal Impact are in Mexico playing some warm-up games. So obviously a lot of teams go to foreign countries to play some games too, and they beat Cruz Azul 1-0.
Any relation to Ras Al Ghul, Matty? Was there a contaminated water supply that may have affected Montreal and Dark Knight in this one?
Any Batman reference is a win in my book.
It's a good start, though. I mean, the teams, they got to get into form. I know TFC, where are they? I think Bradenton, Florida,
usually
their warm-ups.
Yeah, so, I mean, these teams, it's just about getting some match fitness and stuff. They play a couple of friendly games against some of the other MLS teams. It's usually like B-sides. A few guys kick around for 20 minutes and then they head off. But it's, at least the season isn't that far away.
No, it's
anymore.
only like 3 weeks out.
Yeah, it's really close. So, it's time for these teams and managers to start deciding, who their guys are going to be when the season kicks off.
Absolutely. Matt, switching gears to the big 4 leagues, I guess starting off in the Premiership. What were your thoughts of the results over the last week?
Yeah, well, obviously in the Premier League they had the games were midweek. They played them last Tuesday and Wednesday. A couple of big results. I think the biggest game was probably Liverpool beating Spurs 3-2. Mario Balotelli scored. First league goal for Liverpool. So
I almost just literally fell off my chair when you said that.
He literally did. So it was like a blank stare on your face for half a second.
I was trying
to
compute, does this person still play sports?
Yeah. when he came on as a substitute, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot
his name
Balotelli
before.
scored.
I think he made a save on me in Men's House League a couple weeks ago.
So yeah, Balotelli scored. Harry Kane scored another goal for Spurs. A good poacher's
He just
goal.
continues to
get it done, right? So, I mean,
half chances with him may as well be full chances. He's so in form right now that, like you mentioned, I can't envision a way he's not featuring for England.
All right, I think Roy Hodgson said last week that he's got his eye on him. Like,
he's in much better form than Rooney too.
Like, come on,
dude,
he's
on.
Best
he'd be the first
English player, right?
Yeah, he'd be the first forward. No disrespect to Rooney or Sturridge or anyone else on my card and to start any England game right now.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you.
Like first guy I'd put on my sheet.
Can't disagree with that.
Man City 4-1 over Stoke.
Yeah,
continued to nip at the heels of Chelsea a little bit, if you could say that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Man City cruised, like you say, 4-1. Aguero scoring twice. Milner scored again, damn it. And Nasri. But this result was looking really good for City because Chelsea were drawing 0-0 with Everton until Willian scored in the 89th minute to give Chelsea all 3 points.
Chelsea doing what Chelsea does, Matty.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, I mean, they still got that 7-point lead at the top of the table, right?
They find a way to just keep on
last minute
along.
Tim Howard had a really, really good game in goal for Everton though, but couldn't do anything about the winner. Like I said, it was like the shot from the top of the right hand side of the box took a little deflection and she went. But and Man United won again. They beat Burnley 3-1. Chris Smalling scored twice. For what that's worth.
Arsenal over Leicester City 2-1. Kramaric with a brilliant
He had a nice goal for Leicester.
Yeah, he opened his account. I think he's maybe starting to settle a little bit now. He also did score a really class header against Aston Villa in the FA Cup. So that's quality goals, very different goals in back-to-back games for the Croatian international. There's just not enough talent on this Leicester side overall to keep them up, though.
No, not at all. Like, do you know who their goalie is right now?
I do not.
It's Mark Schwarzer.
Oh, my.
Who they signed in January because Peter Schmeichel, Jasper Schmeichel.
You need to pace yourself on these things, man. You just had me going with the Balotelli reference. Like,
yeah, now I'm
my eyes
like
rolled
Mark
so
Schwarzer.
far back in the back of my head. I was doing my best Undertaker impression right there. Felt like all seizure, like hearing those names and just strange.
Yeah, I mean, so Mark Schwarzer is the goal because obviously he's covering for Jasper Schmeichel. Peter obviously is his father, who's been injured for ages now, it seems. A couple of other results in the Premier League. QPR won at Sunderland. Hull beat Villa. Villa has also fired their manager Paul Lambert, so he's gone and Tim Sherwood is in. He was a manager at Spurs for a little bit. Former Spurs player, really good player back in the day, but I don't know if his foray into management has gone too well so far. So, and also Southampton dropped points at home to West Ham 0-0. West Brom beat Swansea 2-0 and Palace drew 1-1 with Newcastle, which was Adam Pardew's first game against his old club.
Matty, moving on to the FA Cup, I'll be honest, I really don't care about the FA Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps some listeners do. What's the perception of the FA Cup back home?
I don't think it's as important as it used to be. But you look at the team. Like, the thing I always do when FA Cup rolls around is I go straight to the team sheets and look who the big teams are playing, because like the Evertons and the Tottenhams,
depending who's dressed.
Yeah, like the Southamptons, they will always put out a good team because deep down they feel like they got a chance at this. But like the Uniteds and the Chelseas, Man Cities, what kind of teams they put out, and they, to be fair to them, they do kind of still put out a pretty good team. Like,
and
you might see
time,
Gerrard
like Man
sit
City,
out,
it's like, let's put our third striker out there, and it's just Stevan Jovetic.
Yeah, well, exactly, right.
Who'd start on how many?
Which is when a lot of these guys play nowadays, right? Yeah. So Liverpool beat Crystal Palace 2-1. Obviously a bit of irony in that, and the fact that that's where Liverpool basically lost the league title last season. But Sturridge and Lallana scored the 2 goals for Liverpool to send them through. And Liverpool did play like a pretty much full-strength side. Gerrard didn't play, if I remember correctly. But I know, back to your question, I guess, about what it's worth. Like, back in the day when I was growing up in England, when I was like 10, 11 years old, it was, it still is prestigious. It is still the second biggest trophy in England. But it's not, I don't think it quite has the same value it used to have, personally. But it is what it is. Arsenal beat Middlesbrough 2-0. Olivier Giroud scored twice. Villa beat Leicester. Leicester just keep losing.
They do. The
big story though in the FA Cup, is the fact that Bradford City, after beating Chelsea 4-2 and continuing to advance, they beat Sunderland 2-0. I have some family and friends who live in Bradford and are big Bradford City fans, so they were pretty excited by this. So Bradford are into the quarterfinals now.
I guess the one, maybe from my perspective, fun thing about an FA Cup is you have a chance of seeing results like that with teams that they don't really have much of a chance to compete, and then maybe you get Man United's B squad and you pull off a draw, and it's huge for that fan.
Well, look at Cambridge.
Right? Yeah, Cambridge
drew 0-0 at home with Man United. That's what the FA Cup's about.
Example, yeah.
And then like Cambridge made more in that return trip to Man United than they make all year. So, and talking to Man United, they went and won 3-1 at Preston on Monday night. Herrera, Fellaini, and Rooney scored. And West Ham lost at West Brom beat West Ham 4-0, and Blackburn beat Stoke 4-1. So Blackburn, a championship side, are into the quarters, as are Reading, who won 2-1 at Derby County.
Quick look at some upcoming fixtures, Matt. Chelsea versus Burnley, Palace versus Arsenal, Swansea versus Man United, Southampton and Liverpool, Man City and Newcastle. Not the juiciest of matchups in your world, but in our world. But which one would you say has the chance to be the best match here?
Probably Southampton, Liverpool. You got 4th place Southampton, Liverpool in 7th. Only 4 points clear Southampton are of the Reds, so I would say that's a big game. And also,
also just shout out for Swansea and United, I think, too.
Yeah, I agree. Swansea. I know they've kind of dipped a little. They've been on and off. Like, they have 9 wins, 7 draws, and 9 losses this year.
They've been on and off. Sound like any other team,
Man a lot United? Of teams. A lot of teams across Europe.
Yeah, but, for sure.
But like you say, I mean, not too much. If Burnley were at home to Chelsea, it might have been a different story. That's who actually Chelsea beat the first game of the season.
It just feels like a typical Chelsea 2-0.
Yeah, 3-0 win. Yeah. See you later, right? So, yeah, like you say, not the juiciest matchups, but, you got to win these games, right? That's the end of the day, so... Man United need to win that Swansea, for example. You got to keep
max
plugging.
Points.
Have to.
Have to have it. I think that makes that game interesting in and of itself. Is Man United going to go in there and stub their toe with a draw, or are they going to do what they should and need to do?
Right. What they're expected to do, really.
Exactly. Shifting gears to La Liga, a quick review of the results from the week that was in Spain, Matt.
Real Madrid remain top of the table with a 2-0 win against Deportivo. Isco and Benzema bagged the 2 goals there. Barcelona, I like Barcelona. I just find every week they seem to just win by outrageous scorelines.
And in the times I've watched them play, it's going to sound absurd. They don't look overly dominant.
No, I know, and that's the thing.
But they're putting in 3, 4, 5 goals. Yeah.
I think the big difference between Real Madrid and Barcelona is they both win their games, which is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you win 1-0 or 10-0. But Barcelona seem to hammer the smaller teams more than Real Madrid.
Whereas Real just takes the 1-0, 2-0.
Yeah, they take like the 2-0 win, whereas Barcelona seems to want to show off.
Barca just clipping at their heels, though, only a point behind. The goals may matter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The goal difference. Barcelona just look at this now. Barcelona have only conceded 13 goals this year. That's not bad.
Yeah, half a goal a game.
And they've lost 3 games, so out of 23. But anyway, Messi had a hat-trick. Suarez and Neymar had the other 2 goals.
Curious that through 23, Real has no draws.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of strange anomaly there. You're looking at other teams 5, 6, 7, 8,
10.
Yeah.
For Granada at the bottom
there. None.
So. Well, if Granada actually won a few of those games, they'd be in way better shape. Anyway, we digress. The other big result, obviously, is the fact that Atletico Madrid fell at Celta Vigo. Not a good result for Diego Simeone's men there.
Yeah, it's the fact that they lost, too. I mean, even if they went in and kind of nicked away a 1-1, it's not great, but it's not awful. But when they're in the situation they're in, it's opened up a legitimate gap now.
Chelsea, Man City again, right?
Yeah, it's the exact same situation we've been seeing in England,
and
too.
Just like Valencia won 1-0 at home to Getafe, Negredo scored, the guy who's on loan from Man City. So he's playing quite well, actually, from what I understand, in Valencia. And Sevilla won 4-0 against Cordoba, who in Sevilla are 5th in the league. So those teams are doing what they had to do. 5 of the top 4 teams won, but Atletico obviously dropping points is probably the biggest story in Spain this week.
The key teams in Spain, I guess, is Barcelona versus Malaga. It's probably the best game of the bunch. I mean, Real Madrid, Elche, Atletico, Almeria, they're kind of going with the dregs, I guess, of La Liga, if you will.
I don't think La Liga is going to be too exciting.
But even Barca should comfortably 3-0 Malaga, I would think.
You would think so, but they play the games for a reason, right? But there's not.
I was going to say any given Sunday, but that's not the way soccer works anymore. It's any given
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Oh, what?
Any given time, day, place, doesn't matter.
I don't know. I think it's just across Europe. Period. This weekend, there's not going to be too many exciting. Well, on paper, don't appear to be too many exciting games.
Sometimes there's surprises, anyway. But
of course. Oh yeah.
That's why you got to play the games. I guess.
Exactly right.
Serie A, Matty.
Let me just catch up on my notes here a second. Inter Milan, 4-1 win. Just dropping your pen over here. At Atalanta, Shaqiri continued to score goals. But the big result...
I'm also not just dropping my pen, I'm dropping knowledge, too, on the masses.
Absolutely. So they say.
Shout out Twitter followers.
at footy_roundup. But we spoke about this last week, and it's so frustrating. I've made no desire that I do follow Roma. I've been a Roma fan for my entire life. And I said last week, every time Juve drop points, Roma drop points too.
Guess what happened this week?
Yeah.
And they both dropped points to really bottom feeder teams too. I believe what was Roma 0-0 at home against Napoli?
No, Parma.
Or Parma, sorry, the last place team in Serie A?
Yeah, who have 10 points this year.
And Cesena, second last, draws Juventus.
Who have 6, let's start with the Roma one first. Parma have won 3 games of 23. They aren't even paying their players. Remember we said last week Christian Rodriguez went there from Atletico, and he joined the club without knowing he won't get paid.
Well, stunningly, maybe where he came from, they didn't have internet, which I think internet is everywhere
Madrid?
now. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe he or his agent don't know how to use it because that information was readily available to everyone.
Just type in Parma on Google and see what just comes out, right?
Yeah, not a lot of glowing things.
So mind-boggling draw at home for Roma. It's inexcusable.
It's at home too.
Even if
terrible.
away,
yeah,
just inexcusable there. And then, like you say, so you're thinking, well, Juve are gonna go to Cesena now and probably hammer them, and well, no, they went and drew 2-2.
That's why you got to play your games against the weaker sisters.
Absolutely.
You never know what's going to happen in the other fixtures.
Absolutely right. So Morata and Marquise scored the Juve goals. Couldn't tell you who scored for Cesena because, quite frankly, we don't know.
Yeah, bad loss for Napoli too.
What did they lose? Oh, Palermo 3-1. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Napoli. They're just too far behind them.
Yeah,
12
but I mean the top
Juve.
3 all just really disappointing week.
Oh,
just dropping bad results.
Fiorentina won though. They're in 4th. They got to win. Mohamed Salah, the guy who went to Fiorentina on loan from Chelsea in the Corrado deal, he scored his first goal for the club.
Lazio snuck by Udinese 1-0 on away.
Yeah, and that's a good result.
Yeah.
And Milan drew 1. Milan just bad. They drew 1-1 at home with Empoli.
I'm never
going
to get used to hearing that. When I was growing up, Inter, to a lesser extent, AC very much so, was the class of the world.
I'll dig it up and try and find it again for like next week's show. But like the Sport Bible, I know I've mentioned them in the past. They tweet out a bunch of random cool things, and one of the things they tweeted out recently or on Facebook, or whatever, was the AC Milan team from like 6 years ago. And you got like Dida and Cafu, Maldini and Nesta and Shevchenko and Inzaghi, Gattuso, and you're like, holy moly, man.
Yeah,
like you looked at the team
loaded.
And it literally
you go back a couple
of
years even before that, you got the likes of Clarence Seedorf, Zvonimir Boban from Croatia in his prime. That team was just loaded with talent.
So good.
Paulo Maldini, I don't know if you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean it's just I don't know. I mean I don't know what happened really to Milan. They've kind of same with Inter as well. I remember a couple of years ago. I think I brought like the new FIFA game. I went to the Inter team thinking, oh, I'm going to see all these guys I know, and I was like, who are all these guys?
Yeah.
Like
still 4.5 stars though.
Yeah, well, of course there. It's Inter Milan.
Name recognition.
You got to give them the name recognition, right? And bump up the player ratings a little. I mean, Inter do have very good players like Shaqiri and Palacio and Guarin and stuff. So don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I think Inter and Milan, both teams have just gone over such a drastic change in the last 5-6 years.
In some ways, though, I feel better where Inter's at than AC. Just because where Inter's at is it's just young and upcoming guys like a Shaqiri, like a Kovacic, guys who can grow, guys that they could conceivably sell to bigger clubs a year or two down the line.
But then if you do that, you're not really getting better, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess then you continue the cycle of bringing in young guns and selling them off. But I just think if they, maintain this squad, they're going to grow and get better maybe quicker than AC will because of their youth. Or B, if some of the guys just become too big for the club, you're going to sell them for big return and then bring in 3 more young studs.
Right.
I just prefer where Inter's at than AC. I don't know. It's not ideal situation for either of these teams that used to be just phenomenal and now are just mired in the middle of the table.
Well,
basically.
like Inter are 10th and Milan are 11th.
Yeah.
So
the definition of average right now.
At best, right? So,
yeah. Matty, a quick run through of the Italian league fixtures.
Not too much here either, I guess. Juve are home to Atalanta. Roma are on the road to Verona. Milan hosts Cesena. Cagliari hosts Inter. I don't know why I have Milan on here twice. I'm not sure what I did there. Parma hosts Udinese. So I mean there's some decent fixtures, but nothing that's outstanding, shall we say?
Yeah, it seems to be the theme of the Big Four this weekend. This week at least. The last of the leagues, Matty, Bundesliga. Some quick results that caught your eye in the week that was. 8-0 maybe?
I think the Bundesliga was kind of crazy this weekend.
Yeah. This weekend or all year?
Well, all year, but this weekend was just all over the shop.
Some nuts games.
Like you say, Bayern Munich hammered Hamburg 8-0.
Yeah, what I thought was
8-0.
particularly poignant was that, and it seemed classless, that Bayern Munich would go for 2.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong football, is it? Thought maybe Bill Belichick was over there coaching the Bayern Munich.
Trying to go for the 2-point conversion. Thomas Müller, Götze, and Robin each scored twice. Lewandowski and Ribery also scored.
Maybe run through who didn't score and save us some time.
Manuel Neuer, he didn't score.
Or concede.
Yeah. I mean, those five players who I just rattled off who scored. Find me a better 5 players in the world.
On one team?
On one team.
Instantly, like, pulling up my Barca and Real Madrid notes, basically.
Maybe. But you see the point I'm making.
Yeah, they're right there.
You really cannot get a better 5 than those guys on the field. So that was one result.
Bayer Wolfsburg, probably the result of the week?
Oh, absolutely. Game of the week. I mean, there's 8... I find with 8-0 games, you get to 3-0 and you're still going crazy. And then 4-0, you're like, okay, this is cool. And then 5-0, it's like, okay, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
Now it's 6-0, it's like, all right, 7. I'm like, okay. But can't be saying for Bayer Leverkusen and Wolfsburg. 5-4, Wolfsburg won. Son and Bellarabi scored for Leverkusen. But Wolfsburg got 4 goals from Dan Dost, and Naldo also scored. Wolfsburg also were up 4-1, I believe, in that game. So Bayer came all the way back, and then Van Dost...
So they almost blew it, yeah.
Van Dost scored the goal in like the 88th minute, 89th minute to win it. So that cracking game. I mean, I watched the highlights for that game, and I recommend you do too. It was a really, really entertaining game. The other big result this weekend is Werder Bremen beat Augsburg. Augsburg, remember, up there at the top of the table.
Yeah, it's a good result for Bremen.
Yeah, well, Bremen as well, like you said, they're middle of the table. They're 8th right now after that win. So, good win for them, though. Luquinha, Selassie, and Di Santo scored for Werder Bremen. So, but Augsburg, I don't think you can really say... I don't know if you can be disappointed, but when you're near the top of the table, you want to try and collect as many points as they can. So they went from 3rd as they were on our show last week, and now they're 5th. And part of that is because Borussia Mönchengladbach
There it is.
There it is. They won 1-0 against Kona in the last minute. Zaka, I think is how you say his name, got the goal. So that's a big win for Mönchengladbach. It's really good to see them up there and in the top of the table. Kind of someone, like Augsburg, a little different. So, and Schalke are fourth, but they've fallen behind after they lost 1-0 at Eintracht. So yeah.
Bayern's got Paderborn on the docket. Not the same Paderborn we discussed 2 months ago.
In week 1 when they were, like, second in the table.
We were running through the table. 2 games played, 2 wins. Maybe they're going to take the Bundesliga.
The other game we clearly forgot to mention here was Borussia Dortmund. They won again. They beat Mainz 5-0. I don't know why I said 5-0. They won, probably because Mainz's full name is Mainz 05. But they won 4-2 against Mainz at the weekend. Subotic, Aubameyang, Roos and Sahin got the goals for Dortmund, who are now out of the relegation zone by a point.
Tough to figure out that Dortmund side.
Yeah, absolutely. But we said about the Bayern guys. I mean, those 4 guys who scored for Dortmund are phenomenal.
Yeah, they're really no joke.
And also, quick note on Marco Reus. After all the speculation about is it going to be Real Madrid or Chelsea or whoever else it's going to be, Borussia Dortmund, he signed a 4.5-year extension in the week.
That was nice to see.
Really like it. I'm a big Marco. He's probably my favorite guy to watch in the world right now. I'm a big Marco Reus fan.
And I always like, the young guys who are kind of loyal to their club. You've seen it with Totti and Roma.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah, it may be a similar situation down the line.
Yeah, really good.
He's see how it
just
plays
a
out.
great player.
You could think he for sure would have gotten more cash from somewhere else.
Probably, but I'm pretty sure Dortmund took care of him pretty good because, like you say, young player, international.
Focal point of the
He's
team.
honestly one of the best players in the world. But, I mean, I think it's going to be, for Dortmund, it's one of those years. They just need to make sure they stay up this year, probably add a couple of guys in the summer, do what they need to do, and then, bang, let's go chase Bayern Munich down again next year. So
I wouldn't even mind seeing Dortmund go the Inter Milan route and bringing in some of the young guys to really keep together.
Their team's quite young anyway, though, right? Like, I mean, Roos isn't old.
He's 23, 24?
Yeah, like our age.
Yeah.
Aubameyang isn't, 24, 25 probably. I mean, the rest of the guys, Matt Hummel was arguably one of the best centre halves in the world, is only 27, 28. So their setup's just one of those really, really odd years. Fixtures this weekend in Germany, Rob. Stuttgart hosts Dortmund, that's a pretty good game. Schalke hosts Werder Bremen, pretty interesting. Hamburg hosts Mönchengladbach, and Augsburg hosts Leverkusen. So Germany does actually have some half-decent games this weekend.
Is Wolfsburg off this week, or are they battling
They're probably playing someone, but I seem to have neglected to have written that down. So, I don't know.
Matty giving no respect for the Wolfsburg fans out
I don't know. Did we even say their score this weekend? Oh, yeah, they won 5-4.
Yeah, maybe it's one of the lesser lights that just didn't jump out to you when you were going through the sheet.
So.
All right, that's it for the first half. In the second half, we'll be back with Europa League and Champions League news.